Hello and welcome. My name is Brigitte Fitzpatrick, and this is the story of my training as a fearless warrior so far. So, looking back on my life at the age of nearly 50 now, I realize how much fear and anxiety have been constant companions throughout my life. At the same time, wherever there's darkness, there's also light, because we live in a world of duality. And so the light in my life are the gifts that I was born with. And these are a strong sense of intuition and divine guidance, as well as divine protection. My childhood and adolescence were spent in frequent periods of intense anxiety. And I think the coping mechanism for me were isolating myself from the rest of the world and using my overactive imagination as a refuge. I was never diagnosed when I was younger, but looking back now, having the wisdom that I have, I believe that I was experiencing social anxiety and depression in my younger years. Again, that's the dark bits, the shadow self. But there was also the light present in my life. And this very strong sense of intuition, which I felt already as a young child, because I knew that when I grew up, I wanted to move to a different country, live in a different country. And I guess I was maybe 6 years old when I first realized there was other languages that were different from mine. I grew up in Hungary, so I spoke Hungarian. And I became really obsessed with English language. I loved English language. That was like a shining beacon in my life. And when I got to secondary school, and I took up English language as one of the subjects, I ended up doing really well at it. And I think it was in 1994 when I first saw Riverdance on TV. And then I came across some documentaries about Ireland, and straight away I fell in love with what I saw on the screen. And I knew that someday I wanted to move to Ireland. At the age of 28, even though I was still in the midst of anxiety, I took a really brave step and I moved to Ireland. And a couple of years later, I got married to a wonderful man, my husband, one of the biggest supports in my life. Fast forward a little bit, and I was pregnant with our first child. And that's actually when I experienced what I call now my first dark night of the soul. Because as early as the first few days of pregnancy, I started experiencing symptoms of what they label as OCD. What it meant for me in my day-to-day life was that I was caught up in a relentless, never-ending cycle of very fearful, scary thoughts of harming my loved ones that were closest to me, my husband, and my mom, and even harming myself, committing suicide, or stabbing myself in the belly and killing my unborn child. This came out of the blue, and I just remember that for weeks and months on end, from the time I woke up in the morning till the time I fell asleep at night, I would have these never-ending cycles of intrusive thoughts of harm, which were very, very scary and upsetting. Soon after, I decided to get some help, and I turned to my GP and also started working with a CBT, cognitive behavioral therapist. I was also put on some psychiatric medication. A few years later, we had 3 beautiful kids with my husband, and I was enjoying life as a mom. I was enjoying spending time with my little ones, watching them grow as the anxiety gradually decreased, and the depression was gone as well. And so when I started to feel this relief and my life getting easier, I looked to spiritual teachings to explain what I had gone through. I have always been deeply interested in spirituality from quite a young age. I would be reading books about reincarnation, near-death experiences, Buddhist teachings, meditation, and I've always had this faith in a greater power, which I never questioned. I used this faith while I was pregnant with our first child, and when I was going through depression and obsessive compulsive disorder. I used my faith and I prayed to Virgin Mary that she would help me deliver a healthy baby who would be unaffected by the medication that I was taking, who would be unaffected by all this fear and anxiety that was present in my body on a day-to-day basis. And thanks to Virgin Mary, I delivered a beautiful, healthy baby girl. And so that was a really lovely period of my life then with the kids. But fast forward to 2023, 2 years ago, actual fact, it was in August, that I started experiencing what I'd like to label now as the second dark night of the soul for me. Because it was at this time that all this anxiety and fear resurfaced again, triggered by an emotional event in my life. So all this anxiety and fear came up, and they actually had more force, more momentum to them than before. And I just remember the feeling of absolute terror. One of the intrusive thoughts I would have is that I was going to grab my neck and choke myself until I was dead. And these thoughts, I believed so much that it really scared me, because deep down I did not want to commit suicide. So I decided to turn for help again. And I actually asked to be admitted in the local psychiatric unit, where I spent the following 6 weeks. And these 6 weeks were incredibly scary for me. I remember vividly one memory. I was sitting on the floor of the corridor of the psychiatric unit, and absolutely sobbing my heart out, and feeling a deep, deep pain and fear, because, and this is what I told the nurses as well, that no matter what they do for me, no matter how much they try to protect me, keep an eye on me, keep me under observation, they can never save me from my own thoughts. And this was the thought that kept going around in my head. And it made me sink deeper and deeper and deeper. And I developed depression again. However, in the midst of nightmare there at the hospital, again, light was present. First of all, there were some nurses, not many, maybe 3 or 4 nurses, that came to me in my darkest moments, and they showed me compassion, real compassion and care, which is something that I will always be grateful for. And apart from these nurses, these angelic beings in my eyes, angels in a human disguise, I would, even with all these thoughts causing chaos in my head, there would be moments, flashes of moments, when I would have a thought, go outside, get some fresh air, go out to the courtyard, run around or jog around a bit, move your body. Or another thought, go and sit on the floor, sit and lie on the floor and ground yourself, or focus on your breath for a few seconds. And following the guidance, I could feel little moments of relief, which was really a godsend for me. When I got out of hospital after a month and a half, I still wasn't out of the woods. and it was a hard transition from the hospital back to the home environment. However, again, internal guidance and resilience kicked in when I realized that I needed a major change in my life. And I decided to go and look for a job. And I was fortunate enough to find a job with a charity. And I spent 1 year in this job, and it was very helpful for me. My job involved taking hot meals out to elderly people and having a little chat with them. And I really enjoyed that aspect of my job, and it really distracted me from this immense mind activity. So that was very, very helpful for me. And at the same time, I started practicing mindfulness on a daily basis, something that I had been planning to do for a long, long time, but somehow or other I never stuck it out. I would always give up after a week or after a few days. This time I knew that it was of paramount importance to me to start mindfulness and do it on a daily basis. And I'm very proud to say that on the 11th of May this year, I have reached a milestone, because I had been practicing mindfulness daily for a year. So, and of course, this process continues. Having said that, again, the emotional roller coaster that is my life, the last couple of few months, again, I have been feeling emotions really, really intensively. And I'd be feeling the fear again and the anxiety again, and I would notice my mind wanted to grab onto the old thoughts and run away with them again. But this time, I had, again, an intuitive guidance of how to deal with when the thoughts started coming. So my guidance said, guidance meaning the wisdom inside of me, I would just have this knowing that what I needed to do is to drop from the mind down to the body. Drop the story. Don't focus on the story. Don't try to run away from the story, but just acknowledge and lightly let it go instead. This wisdom told me that I needed to put my entire focus onto that part of my body where I felt the emotion the strongest. So I would normally feel fear most prominently around my heart, in this area, in the chest area. It would present itself as a lot of pressure, a lot of heaviness, as I could describe it, like a real big knot, painful knot here in my chest. So what I started doing then, I started focusing on this and just staying, even putting my hands on this part of the body and feeling, really, really feeling the pain, but without labeling it bad or scary or nasty or anything. Just dropping the story, feeling the pain, even breathing into it, taking deep breaths into this pain. And this time the experience was completely different, because even though I did feel the pain didn't become suffering, because suffering arises when pain is accompanied by a story. So when you're just feeling the energy, this pain in your body, the tightness, the stinging sensation, the heaviness, and just breathing into it, and even saying to it, thank you for arising, for showing yourself to me so that I can heal you. And talking to it like as if you were talking to a young child. If you stay with this practice for a few minutes, you will realize that this is the right way. I suppose a week ago or so, I came upon the teachings of the beloved Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron. And it was actually her that gave me the inspiration for the name of this channel, which is Fearless Warriors in Training. So this is a quote by Pema. As a warrior in training, we accept that we can never know what will happen to us next. We cultivate courage to develop an ability to work through our fear whenever uncertainty arises. We don't run away. Instead, we choose to lean towards difficulties in order to address and remove the root causes of our everyday struggles and pain. I think that Pema's quote sums this message up perfectly. So in the last couple of weeks, I have been, it's my practice to draw angel cards every day for guidance. And in the last couple of weeks, even longer, I have been getting one card repeatedly, which was to step into my role as a healer, because I am a healer and I'm here to spread a message. And contemplating it, I actually decided to start this channel, hoping that with the mindset that even if it just helps one person who is struggling, then it has been worthwhile creating this channel. So lastly, I'd like to say to you all that if you, like me, are a sensitive person who feels emotions, deep emotions like fear, anxiety, really, really deeply, who feels the pain of these emotions deeply, and you resonate with the approach of turning towards the pain, acknowledging it and accepting it instead of leaning away from it, then I would love you to join this community, to subscribe, and even share this video if you found it helpful. And please, tell me a bit about yourself in the comments. So this is the end of this video, and I hope to see you very soon. To finish this, just a little prayer. May we all experience excuse me, I have to start again. I just trying to put in the words what I was saying. So my prayer is for all of us to approach fear with open arms, and may we all achieve the stage of acceptance and compassion towards ourselves, towards our emotions. Thank you. See you soon.